Hey, what's up guys? It's Tech Consumer talking to you here, and today I want to cover my M2 MacBook Air. Yes, the M2 MacBook Air, the computer that I've got now for about 2 days, and I've got some thoughts because I've been using this computer for the last 2 days and I think I have something to tell you. And it's not a review, it's not a full review, not even close. I will do so much more in-depth content with this computer, but I think it was very important for me to make this video 2 days right off the way because I've discovered something that everyone else is probably telling you, that this computer is thermally throttling, the performance is not enough, you won't really like the way that the SSD performs, and you should probably buy a little more storage, a little more RAM for the future proof. And I'm here to tell you that simply enjoy this computer. This has been one of the best experiences and fun experiences I've been used ever on a computer. Like, it's so weird to talk about this because I've got an M1 Max MacBook Pro, that computer that is right there. It's the most powerful laptop Apple computer ever. And I mean, the performance is great, but it's very bulky, it's very big, and you kind of notice the difference between the weight between these two computers, trust me. And in the last 2 days, I've been using this MacBook Pro, the base model, the complete base model, the one that starts at $1199. And Jesus, I'm in love with this computer. Right away, I want to switch. I can't because of the performance, but I really need the performance and the overhead performance for the future. But I think this computer is perfect. Perfect for all of you out there that just want a very fast, bursty computer. And the base model is just enough. If you can go with 256 gigabytes of storage, for me, that's just okay. Go for the base model. The only thing that I think you should need to upgrade is the storage, nothing else. But let's talk about all of that and even more on this video. So, no further ado, roll the intro. As you know, the M2 MacBook Air came out as the pre-orders on Friday. So you could pre-order your computer Friday before that, 7 days before that, and it came on the 15th of July, the first MacBook Airs with the M2 chip. This computer, as you know, was redesigned. It has a very new design. It has new bezels, of course. This new display is incredible. It has these MacBook Pro-like bezels. You can see that I have around the same wallpaper as the two computers, and I mean, the bezels are the same as the 16-inch MacBook Pro. It doesn't have a mini LED display, though it has an LCD, liquid retina display, 60 Hz, while my M1 Max MacBook Pro has 120. But this still has a very thin, very light design that I really enjoy. And of course, it's way smaller, having only a 13-inch display when compared to the 16-inch on the MacBook Pro. This is the smallest and lightest MacBook on the Apple lineup. And so, this is a very, very cool computer to use. On the last 2 days, I've been using this computer non-stop, using it for every single task, browsing the web, editing videos. Yes, I edited my last video on the M2 MacBook Air, the unboxing and first look. Then I did some benchmarks. I used this computer for browsing the web, like I told you, watching Netflix, watching Disney+, watching YouTube, every single streaming service that you can think of. I've been using this computer. Though the display is not 16 inches, it's not big, it's not very bright like the mini LED display, it's still very good. And so this base model computer, being almost a quarter of the price as my M1 Max MacBook Pro, it makes a difference. It's very, very noticeable. The difference between these two computers is the price. Like, yes, the design, amazing. I love this design. It's very light, very easy to use. Just the way that I can pick up, not get tired to pick up this computer on the hand. The color is incredible. I love this matte color. I mean, everything is very cool on this computer. I cannot describe you how cool it is to hold a computer this thin. For you to have an idea, this computer is the same width as my iPad Pro with the Smart Folio case. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, this is a very, very light, very thin computer that has a full keyboard, which is amazing. The new Magic Keyboard present all of the MacBooks right now. It has the function key rows, it has a Touch ID, it has a full-on trackpad, which is incredible. The display is amazing, the bezels are amazing, the 1080p camera is incredible. This is the microphone and camera test for the M2 MacBook Air. This is a 1080p camera, and I think it looks amazing for a webcam on a computer. The same probably as the M1 Max MacBook Pro, or a little bit better. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, like I was telling you, the speakers are also amazing. And let's talk talk a little bit more of performance, because there's a lot of doubts in the tech community about the performance of the base model, at least, because I don't have the other M2s I cannot compare with, but the base model M2, it's still very fast. I mean, it's still very fast, and for everyday people, like, they won't notice the difference between this and the M1 Max, of course, because this is the fastest and burstiest chip ever, because the cores are improved. While the M1 Max has a ton of M1 cores, these have the new M2 cores, which are around 18% faster than the last M1 cores. But in real world performance, I made some benchmarks, so take a look. For the first benchmark, I obviously ran Geekbench 5 on the CPU test, on single core, of course. And now, on this test, we will get two results, the single core performance and the multi-core performance. The objective is, this is the most standard test, and so we will get the most standard results. And for that, we got 1929 at single core performance, which is actually amazing, the best on the business, and 8781 on multi-core performance. Then I obviously ran Cinebench R23, another benchmark program where you can get amazing results to compare to other computers. And so I ran Cinebench R23 single core test and got 1594 points, the best result ever for single core performance on Cinebench. As for GPU, like I was telling you, are also improved, around 35% improvement from the M1, and the difference is more noticeable on the GPU side. So I ran other benchmarks to try to show you guys what are the differences, and I can tell you and I can show you. For the GPU side, I ran Geekbench Compute Test on Metal and got amazing 26,000 points, 529, a good result and an improvement over the ancient M1 chip. But of course, this is not about the performance, and as you saw, the performance gains from the M1, at least my M1 Max, from the single core tests, well, I mean, the M1 Max is the same as the M1, so if you go for the single core test, it's the same. That's why I use the M1 Max as reference for the single core tests. The multi-core, you can see the difference between these two are very big, but the M2 is more of a burstier, single core focused computer. So for multi-core tests, it's not the greatest, but neither the M1 was. And so the M2 is still an amazing choice for you guys. Starts at $1199, $200 more than the last M1 MacBook Air, which was such a steal. But you have to take into consideration that now, with inflation going around 9 to 10%, and you're getting a ton more hardware improvements than the last M1, then it starts to make sense, the $200 jump. Like the 10% out of 1,000 was 100, and the $100 more on top of that for the hardware improvements, such like the new design, and of course the new M2 chip, and everything else with the MagSafe, and of course the new display and bezel size. So Apple had to restructure their factories to produce this M2 MacBook Air. I expect that the next M2 MacBook Air will look like this, or at least will have the M3, M4 chip, will look like this, and they will lower the price. But the M2 MacBook Air is great at doing what it was made for, which is browsing the web, browsing documents, creating documents, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Pages, numbers, whatever you want to use. It's very good, it's very fast, and it's very reliable. And that's why I'm thinking very heavily to giving this computer to my mom. Because she's a teacher, she does all of that, she inputs grades on Excel, she likes to browse the web, to use Moodle, to talk to students, to use live calls, to use FaceTime. She likes to use all of that, and this computer is perfect for her. It's very light, easy for her to carry on her back without straining their back, and it's very cool to use. It's very light. The MagSafe port is incredible. It's just easy to connect and to charge. This one charges at 67 watt fast charger. My mom has a 67 watt from my last MacBook Pro, so I will give her the MagSafe charger that comes on the box, and she will be able to fast charge this computer. This is the base model one, so it doesn't come with a fast charger, neither the 2-port 35 watt adapter. So you have to pay $20 more for those two adapters. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I sure. If you want the extra 67 watt. That was a mistake that I made in my last unboxing video, that I taught you guys that you needed to upgrade the RAM and the storage to get the faster charging bricks, but you don't. You can just pay extra $20 and you will get them. I recommend you doing it because the faster charger is very cool. And talking about charging, we can talk about battery life, because in the last few days I've used this computer for about 3-4 hours a day, and I'm still at, it came with 80%, but I'm still at 69%. I've used like 11% just browsing the web, downloading some videos, and of course editing some light things. I will edit later this video that you are watching right now on the M2 MacBook Air, and I will give you my feedback on my next video about the battery life expander on a very high end editing, because this will be a higher and longer video than my last unboxing, which was just footage that I put on Final Cut Pro, put some text over it and export it, which was very, very fast edited, while this one will have a lot of cuts, a lot of B-roll, and so it will be more heavy on the CPU and GPU side. In terms of throttling, did I notice any throttling, any hitting? Of course not. I use this computer for, it was meant for editing light 4K video from the iPhone, browsing the web, browsing email, watching streaming videos. I don't know. This computer was made for that, very short, busty things. And so it doesn't make any sense for me to throw in an 8K footage or even very high-end footage from the iPhone with ProRes and a very high-end stuff watching, I don't know, completely burn this computer with 3D rendering and all of that stuff. Those tests, in my opinion, don't make sense to try to test the thermals on this computer just because this is a very, very bursty, simple computer for the masses, for the people that just want to browse the web, browse documents, and very simple computer, which is very light, very cool. If you want this form factor with a little bit more power, you will have to upgrade for the non-bin version with the M2 and of course get more RAM until 24 gigabytes of RAM and of course 2 terabytes of storage. But in that reason, you will go again very high on the price ladder and you will end up be more worth it to buy a MacBook Pro. And in that case, you should buy the MacBook Pro instead because it will have the mini LED display, the 120 Hz and even more ports. And for people that are pros and really need the performance, then it's worth it to upgrade. They don't really need to justify that. But for the people that just need a very fast, easy computer, they want a Mac because it has a ton of very good quality of build because it's full aluminum build. It has a ton of new cool ports and pro features like the new incredible display, the new keyboard, the new speakers. Then I think that this MacBook just fits right in on the Apple ecosystem and it works amazingly well. It unlocks with your Apple Watch, it has FaceTime, iMessage, and so has all of the benefits of the Apple ecosystem, which are amazing, are incredible, and that's why I completely recommend the M2 MacBook Air only after using it 2 days. And this one being the base model, the cheaper it is. So I will give you more in-depth comparisons between this computer and of course the M1 Max. And if you are seeing yourselves and before you jump on the comments down below and try to tell me that the M1 Max is not a comparison against these two because they are very, very different, well, I have to tell you that you're right. That's why I won't compare it directly, but I'll try to give you an idea between the most expensive Apple computer laptop and the cheapest one, so you see the difference between the cheapest and most expensive, so you can land between the middle, which is probably the best for you. But if you do really need a cheap Apple computer, then this M2 MacBook Air will serve you so well for the next couple of years, and this is such a better computer than the last Intel machines, which are the ones that you are probably upgrading from, and even the M1. This is such an upgrade in terms of hardware that I probably recommend you for you guys that love these new hardware to upgrade from the M1. You can still sell it for a good price and put a little bit extra money and go for the M2 MacBook Air. But of course, this is a choice that you have to make. In my opinion, on the 2 days that I've been using it, I love this computer. I love it so, so much. And if I could use it as my secondary Mac, I would. I don't have the money for that. I will give it to my mom, so she will probably buy it for me. And of course, I don't have the need for another one, but this computer is so insanely cool, insanely fun to use that I will take every single second that I can for the next 2 weeks before I decide if I have to return it, give it to my mom, and or sell it. I don't know. But this has been the M2 MacBook Air in the last 2 days. An amazing computer, a very fast and bursty machine that I recommend to everyone that just wants a computer for being a computer and don't really need or care about specs or performance on a laptop. They just want the lightest non-Windows computer, which just, to be honest, they suck. So don't buy a Windows computer, buy the M2 MacBook Air instead. And if you are anxious to see my comparisons between this computer, that one, or even more performance tests and more in-depth comparisons, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and of course drop a like down below so you can help my channel grow. Comment your opinion on the M2 MacBook Air. Do you have one? Will you buy one? And which color is your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. This has been Texmer talking to you here. Bye.